Welcome in, everybody, to Betting Pros. It's time to place your bets. It is me, Joey P, Joe Pisapia, and happy Thanksgiving week, everybody. It's week 12. That means we've got wall-to-wall football every day of the week. You want games on Thursday? We'll give you a game on Thursday. How about Black Friday? You want a Black Friday game? Sure, we'll get you that. We'll get you games on Sunday, Monday, everything. Forget it. All the football, all the food, all the leftovers, everything you can handle. Of course, to help me break it all down is Pat Fitzmaurice, my patty cakes, and of course, Sam Hoppen as well, the mad scientist in the data lab. A little break from the NBA and all the other things you do and talk a little football here for Sam. And don't forget, everybody, we're still giving away free stuff. So if you want a premium upgrade to Betting Pros, now is the time to do it. Make sure you drop your comments below, subscribe to the channel, click that bell till it goes ding so you know every time a piece of content drops. And if you're the big winner, that's how we're going to notify you. So subscribe, like the show. Be nice. It's Thanksgiving. Drop a little comment. And you can always give us a review as well. That's always appreciated if you're listening to the podcast. Wherever you get your pods, drop a nice 5-star review. It's the holiday season. It's time to do nice things. And let's start, boys, with the Thanksgiving games because we got some fun ones here. The Green Bay Packers coming off a big victory. I know you two very excited. And let me start there because I am angry. I promised that I would lose my mind here on the show about the Chargers. Last week, boys, I said I'm confident in the Chargers and it felt dirty and wrong, and I was wrong. It sucked. I'm mad. I'm mad at Brandon Staley. I'm mad at the Chargers. I'm mad at the city of Los Angeles. The whole thing, it was terrible, no good, but the Green Bay Packers were good enough. They are going to be underdogs, though, when they go to Detroit. Detroit is now 8-2 after another big victory against the Bears at home. This one's in Detroit. 7.5 is the number here on the Detroit side. 46.5 over is the consensus line you're getting on Betting Pros, and plus 285 for the upset. Sam, let's start with you on this one here because I already got to talk to Fitz about the Packers more this morning on our FP show. I want to talk to you about the Packers, what you saw. Obviously, Aaron Jones, highly unlikely to play in this game. I think we can all agree on that. So what does this mean here for this number of the 7.5? And do you put any sort of stock in what Andrew Erickson's been saying for a few weeks now, which is Ford Field might as well be called Coors Field?
I don't know if I understand that reference, but as far
it's
as
a baseball reference, it means a lot of scoring. There you go. I found the one spot there, the one sport here where Sammy is not is up to speed.
That's what I thought you meant, but it was pretty far out of left field, and I wasn't quite expecting it. Wow. But in any case, the Aaron Jones injury is interesting. I think the way that Green Bay wins this game is attacking the Lions through the air. That's probably the weakest part of their defense, and I think that's honestly good because A.J. Dillon might be the only running back available for the Packers in this game. Their third string running back also got injured on Sunday, but I do think that Detroit, especially after the less than inspiring outing from Jared Goff with 3 interceptions, is going to lean into the run, which has been a struggle for Green Bay to stop. They allow a 5.3% explosive rush rate this year, which is the 4th worst in the league. Detroit has a negative 10% pass rate over expectation in 2 of their last 3 games. Detroit, I think, has the coaching advantage in this game. So I expect Detroit to just sort of play it a little easier, run the ball with Montgomery and Gibbs, and come away with this. If they're able to limit Green Bay to a couple of 3-and-out drives and then just pound the clock by running the ball, then I expect Detroit to be able to cover this. I had Detroit -8 for my numbers. It's at 7.5 right now, so I'm leaning Detroit.
Yeah, I'm on the Detroit lean as well, Pat. How about you? I just feel like Detroit sort of smells that they can win this division and lock things up. And this is a big game for them in order to really solidify them at the top of that note.
Oh, if I was going to bet Detroit, and I'm kind of leaning that way myself, I would want him at 7, and I do not like 7.5. So, it's funny. If you look at Massey Peabody rankings, which are a very useful tool for bettors, by the way. Massey Peabody had the Lions as being not quite 3 points better than the Packers on a neutral field as of going into week 11. So it seems like based on that, there might be value on the Packers. I don't really buy it. I think what I'm going to do is play the over. Joe, you made the Coors Field reference. It might be apt here. And especially the way this game sets up, the Packers are going to have to lean on their passing game with no Aaron Jones. And a 45.5, it seems kind of a high total for the Packers, who are slow-paced and not exactly explosive on offense, but they're going to be forced to throw, and we know they don't defend the run well, and the Lions might be able to just run it down their throats. So, over is my leaning here. Not real interest in either side.
And the number's already jumping up to 46.5 in some spots. Still okay with that one? Just out of curiosity?
I think so. I'd play it up to 46.5, 47 maybe.
Let's get to the next one here. The Dallas Cowboys, 7-3, are hosting the Washington Commanders, who lost to the Giants. Let's not even get to that. Let's talk about instead the numbers. Of course, it's double digits. -11 here for the Dallas Cowboys at home, -110. The consensus line at Betting Pros is 48.5, +425 for the Washington upset. I know we always get Sam Howell plays up and down to the competition. This is one of the play up to the competition. So, Pat, do you think he plays up to the competition and somehow keeps this within the 11? Or do you think the Cowboys continue at home to just look like an offensive juggernaut, which they have here ever since the bye?
The latter, Joe. I think the Cowboys have done really well against lesser competition. They are 4-1 against the spread against teams who they've been favored by at least 6 points against. And that doesn't even include their 40-0 shellacking of the Giants in week 1, where they were only favored by 3.5. So, I'm going to bet the Cowboys here to, put Washington away. I mean, Washington showed their true colors against the Giants. They were just terrible in week 11. And it seems like this total is pretty tall, too, because I'm not sure if the Commanders are going to do their part to push this game over against that Dallas defense. And, by the way, like the total jumped from 47.5 on Sunday night to 48.5 on Monday morning. Like, I don't understand that. So, I like the under a lot. I like getting that extra point. Unless Dallas puts up a 40 burger on the Commanders, I don't see this one going over.
Well, that's the question. Like, do they put up 35? If they put up 35, Sam, to me, I think the 48.5 is well within range. I think the Washington do their part in that. But is there a certain aspect of this game that has you interested in the early value?
Definitely taking Dallas with the points. They have 6 wins this year by at least 20 points, which is just absurd. Washington did have 6 turnovers against the Giants this past week, which is why I am now knocked out of the Survivor League that I was in. The Washington rushing defense has played pretty decent lately. They haven't allowed a success rate over 40% since week 8. But the problem is Dallas is throwing a ton. They have a 64.2% neutral script pass rate over the last 4 weeks. Dak is just dealing. He is going to carve up this Washington secondary more than the turkey is going to be carved up in the kitchen.
There you go. All right, let's go to the night game here. San Francisco looking great. They're going to go on the road at 7-3. They are 7-point favorites there in Seattle. Now, Geno Smith unlikely to play probably in this game at this point, dealing with that tricep injury and that tough loss there to the Rams. 42.5 is the number at -110. The consensus line at BP. For the Seattle upset, it's +250. Sam, do we see the 49ers just continue to roll? Because it feels like coming out of that bye, this is a rejuvenated San Francisco team, and that pass rush now with Bosa and Chase on either side is pretty ferocious. And Seattle not only down Geno, but also probably down Kenneth Walker, too, for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, this one's got a lot of injury things to keep an eye on over the next couple of days. I really hope we get Geno in this game. Otherwise, that tryptophan is probably going to hit a little harder than normal early in the evening.
Sammy's got jokes today, Pat. I mean, Sammy's got he's ready. He is done. He is ready for a break. You can tell.
When in Rome, I mean, this is the week to get the Thanksgiving puns in, so you got to take advantage. But I think
you're doing your part.
I think Geno might actually play in this game, given that he came back in the last drive of the game against Los Angeles this past week. That said, I love San Francisco -6.5 here.
Yeah, I've seen the number move to 7 here in a lot of spots already. I'm still comfortable. I think they win this game by double digits, Pat. This one to me is one of the best early lines of the week. I want to jump on it right now because whether Geno plays or not, he's not 100%. So I just believe in San Francisco right now. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, and these teams played 3 times last season, Joe, and the 49ers won all 3, and the average margin of victory was 15.6 points. So I could not possibly take Seattle here. And I kind of like the over, based on the hope largely that Geno does play. I mean, I think both of these teams are maybe a little better on offense than they are on defense. The 49ers are first in offensive DVOA, the Seahawks 11th. And in defensive DVOA, the 49ers are 10th, the Seahawks 20th. So I think we're going to get points in this game if Geno plays, and maybe even if it's Drew Lock.
Don't forget, tomorrow, everybody, we've got a Thanksgiving special. Andrew Erickson, myself, breaking down all the games and the Black Friday game as well, for not only the games in between the betting stuff, we got the prop stuff. We're going to do all of it here, our favorite parlays of the day too, to enjoy the Thanksgiving games and have a little action there on the side. And of course, the Black Friday game, a new tradition here. We'll see how this one goes. And of course, the league has to give us more Jets, because if there's one thing I can't get enough of, it's standalone New York football between the Jets and Giants. One of those two teams has got to be a standalone game, right? So let's talk about it. The Jets, obviously underdogs because, well, Zach Wilson is horrible, and the Jets offense is putrid. They are 8-point underdogs against the Miami Dolphins. 41 is the number for this one. The Jets on the money lines plus 300. Pat, look, I'm taking the Dolphins here. This isn't double digits because they're giving respect to the Jets defense, but I don't want to give the Jets too much respect. I think this 8 is still comfortable. I think Miami wins this one by 10 or more. Your thoughts in this contest?
I totally get it, Joe. The last time we wrote off the Jets for lack of offense, they rebounded in a pretty big way. Like in weeks 2 and 3, the Jets put up 10 points against Dallas, 10 points against the Patriots. Then in week 4, they hung tough with the Chiefs and lost 23-20, covered easily, and then they won 3 straight, beating the Broncos, Eagles, and Giants. The one thing the Jets do really well is blanket wide receivers. And if they are able to keep Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle under wraps, maybe they can cover this number. So I'm kind of not interested in either side. I don't know. Dolphins just feels like a little bit of a trap to me, Joe. I just can't shake that feeling. And like this game could conceivably play under 41.5 or 41 or whatever it's at now.
That's an interesting POV.
Yeah, like
that's an interesting POV. Sam, what do you think about that potentially on the under of this game? Because I mean, the Jets are going to do their part there. Like, that's going to happen. So if they are a little lackluster, if they are a little bit, slow here in the shorter week preparation wise, what do you make of maybe the under being the best play in this game, Sam?
Yeah, I think it's certainly in play. Again, there's some injury concerns here. Mekhi Becton got hurt. I think the Jets have now already used 13 different offensive line combinations, which is not good, folks. So I think that is going to contribute to things. The Miami defense has been improving quite a bit as well. They allowed a success rate over 50% in 3 of the first 4 weeks of the season, but they have allowed just 2 games over a 40% success rate since week 5. So they're getting better. Jalen Ramsey being there helps a ton. Vic Fangio sort of leaning into that role as well. We've seen Miami with a couple of injuries as well. Devon Achane, unsure if he's going to be able to return. Tyreek Hill left the game but did come back. So that is something to monitor. It seems like he's going to play this week. But the Jets defense is, I think they showed a little bit of some holes against the Bills this past week, and the Dolphins I think are as good of, if not a better offense than the Bills right now. So the under is a little scary, but I understand the logic behind it.
All right, fair enough. Let's go to the next one here, and this is going to be a fun game. This is basically a playoff game. We're going to jump into the Houston Texans, 6-4, hosting the Jaguars. So this one's practically a pick 'em on Betting Pros right now. You've got Jacksonville as 1-point favorites. 47 is the number. Then you've got Houston at -105. It's the best spot you can get it right now on the money line. Sam, are you ready to put your faith in the Houston Texans at home in a big spot, in a big game that really will determine their fate? Or is it time for the Jaguars to just start handling their business after a shaky middle of the season here for them?
This is going to be a fascinating game. I'm really excited for this one. If the Texans win, they have the front seat in winning the AFC South, which if you had said that 3 months ago, people would have been laughing at you. But CJ Stroud this past week did show that he is human. He had probably his worst half of football through 3 interceptions on Sunday. Meanwhile, Trevor Lawrence had probably his best game of the season so far, I believe, through 4 touchdown passes, or at least accounted for 4. I don't have a lean on this one. I think the Texans, I made them as a 0.5 favorite, so basically a pick 'em here. I slightly lean towards the Texans just because they are at home. Again, you're buying them sort of with a little bit of depressed value after the sort of lackluster offensive performance. But this one, I think I might lean towards the under on this one as well. Jacksonville plays pretty slow. They do rush the ball a little bit, and they're bad at rushing the ball as well. So I lean towards the under and hoping for a great game.
All right, Pat, your thoughts. This should be, in theory, one to watch this week. This is definitely a game that has massive playoff implications, and obviously for this division too, as Sam laid it out, if Houston handles their business, their schedule is a bit more favorable. So the pressure, I think, is on the Jaguars. How do you think they respond?
Yeah, fun matchup for sure. Joe, the Jaguars are one of my favorite bets of the week. And since the beginning of October, they have covered in 6 of 7 games, failing only to do so in that blowout loss to the 49ers coming out of their bye. So I think the Texans have just been slightly overvalued in the betting market for weeks, and I get it. I mean, they are fun as can be, but I think the spreads have sort of overcooked the numbers on the Texans a little bit. So, I think they're getting maybe 2 points a week that they probably shouldn't be getting. So I think the Jags are a value here. I think the Jags are going to win straight up. They're the better team. And I think there's a lot of value on them this week.
Okay, fair enough here. Let's go to the next one here on the slate. We've got the Pittsburgh Steelers somehow at 6-4. And the Joe Burrow-less Cincinnati Bengals. This one right now, the Pittsburgh Steelers are favored by 1. That's where the spread's at, -110. You've also got 34.5 as the over-under for this one. A -105 for the Bengals to win. Now, we'll see how the Bengals respond without Joe Burrow. I know no one's really holding their breath with excitement. Pat, I'm just running right to the under on this one. 34.5. I mean, with the way these two offenses might be looking, I think that one still might be safe. What do you think?
Yes, thank you, Joe, for validating that opinion. Like a lot of these games this week with super low totals, I'm like, yeah, I'll take the under. I can see it. And this one opened with the Bengals favored by 1 point, which was just astonishing. As miserable as the Kenny Pickett, Matt Canada experience has been for Steelers fans, like, how could the Bengals open as a favorite with Jake Browning at quarterback? So, man, morale in the Bengals locker room just can't be real high at the moment after losing Joe Burrow for the rest of the season and knowing that any title aspirations you had are pretty much out the window. So I kind of like the Steelers here, and I definitely like the under.
Okay, Sam, what do you like in this contest?
I feel like Pittsburgh is the move here, just given their defense, but I do not trust Kenny Pickett at all. Benjamin Solak from The Ringer posted a clip of all of Kenny Pickett's throws past the line of scrimmage this past week, and it was 44 seconds of uninspiring
like a torturous video.
Football. There might be this whole Jake Browning, first start, does he catch Pittsburgh off guard type stuff? I think, whether T. Higgins is back in this game could make that a difference there too. I'm staying away. I'd rather not.
All right.
Look at
Fair
this
enough.
game.
I still think that under is, especially because of the Kenny Pickett stuff, I think the under is safe here. This is neither of these teams are offensive juggernauts at this point in their season. The Carolina Panthers also not necessarily an offensive juggernaut. They are 1-9. They are 3.5-point underdogs heading to Tennessee, which feels about right here. 37 is the number, plus 158 for the Panthers to get a victory. Now you're getting some value here, Sam, on the money line when it comes to the Carolina Panthers in this game. The question is, do you have enough faith in them to go and win a road game here in Tennessee? Tennessee, obviously, with Levis, it's been kind of spinning its wheels a little bit. What do you make out of this contest? Any early value in your opinion?
This one, again, I don't see a ton of early value in. Frank Reich took back play calling for the Panthers, and it once again did not look great. They rushed the ball a ton, seemed like they were sort of hiding Bryce Young. The Will Levis shine has worn off a bit. I think Tennessee will be able to just run the ball with Derrick Henry, give him 25 carries and sort of salt away this game. So I like the under for that reason. I think, again, two of these teams with some less than inspiring offenses are not going to be able to move the ball a ton and just aren't able to score. So I prefer the under on this one. Don't really have a lean on either side.
The under certainly seems like the safest bet, Pat.
Another total under 40 that I'm going to bet the under on. Yes, I like that here. Not interested in either side. I mean, if you force me to, I would probably lay the points and take the Titans at home. The Panthers are just so bad, but I'm not going to touch either side. Like I don't want to have to watch this game, Joe.
Fair enough. I understand. Moving on to the next game here, you've got the Atlanta Falcons and New Orleans Saints coming off byes. Another big in-division game here where we're going to see if Atlanta's going to make their move into this division conversation. They are 4-6. The New Orleans Saints are 5-5. They're in the driver's seat. Pat, they are right now, believe it or not, the Atlanta Falcons are 1-point favorites at home. 42.5 is the number. -110 is the consensus. So it's basically just a pick'em situation. And I got to be honest with you. I understand it's the health of Derek Carr that's really in question here. But is the early value to jump on the Saints here regardless?
It probably is, Joe. I mean, I've sworn off betting Saints games because that team has vexed me so much this season and taken so much of my money. But in a couple of pools where we have to pick every game, I'm gonna pick the Saints. If Derek Carr is quarterbacking the Saints, I'll be real tempted to actually bet it and get back on Saints games, which I'll probably regret later. If it's Jameis Winston at quarterback, I will have to reassess.
Okay. Uncertainty, Sam, when it comes to the quarterback situation with the Saints, but does that provide any potential value here? Or are you confident perhaps that Jameis Winston, if he is indeed playing this game, can go out there and win a road game in Atlanta?
I'm not playing this right now, but depending on who the quarterback is for New Orleans changes how I would play this later in the week. If it is going to be Derek Carr, then I'd probably take New Orleans with the points, depending on what that ends up at. If it's +1, then I'll take that. But if it is Jameis Winston, I probably prefer taking the Saints on like some alternate spreads, like -5.5, -6.5, because his range of outcomes is just going to be so much wider than Derek Carr's, where if he plays really well, they're, I think, going to take care of the Falcons easily. But there's also a situation in which he turns into 30 interception Jameis and just is not even able to get close to that +1. So that's the way I'm playing that game later on this week once we get some more news about the quarterback situation.
Okay, New England is going to travel to New York to take on the Giants. The Patriots are 3.5-point favorites. This feels like a lot. Talk about uncertainty when it comes to the quarterback position. Is it going to be Bailey Zappi? Probably, but again, we're still waiting on official word for that. 34 is the number for this one, +150 for the Giants on the money line. Sam, call me crazy here, but it's not that I'm believing in Tommy DeVito, but this line feels a little weird to me. It feels as though we're giving the Patriots still a little too much credit for the team that they are. Do you think going on the road here, this is the correct line? What did you have this game at? I'm fascinated because it seems like the value is on the Giants money line right now.
I had this as Giants -1. I mean, I don't, and that was more of a like, neither of these teams should be favored. I'm just giving the Giants a little bit of credit for being at home. And obviously New England is coming off of the bye with their previous game in Germany, but there just does not seem like any reason why the Patriots should be favored on the road really against anyone. I mean, let alone 3.5 points. Like it's too much for me. I told you last week that there wasn't a spread high enough for me to bet on Tommy DeVito against Washington, but 3.5 at home, I think. Give me the Giants. Like, it sounds gross, but
yeah. No, I think it's right. Now, Giants on the money line or Giants with the number 3.5?
Give me the money line. I mean, again, you're playing into the variance a little bit there and hoping that they are able to, get some lucky bounces go their way. Again, obviously, I mentioned earlier in the show that they had 6 takeaways against Washington, and I don't expect that to happen against New England. But I think their offense is good enough to keep this somewhat close and not completely blow it out of the way.
Pat, 2/3 of us are already in on the Giants. You want to join us here on our island?
Oh, Joe. So this is game number 3 that has a total of under 40. We're rounding third base. I'm going to touch third base and bet the under here for sure. And
okay.
I am not going to bet either side. I mean, this is interesting. Like Bailey Zappi. Are you laying 3.5 points to anyone with a backup quarterback starting for one of the worst editions of the Patriots we've seen in many years? Not that I think going from Mac Jones to Bailey Zappi is anything but a lateral move. Still, I don't understand it. If I were forced to bet this, I would bet the Giants. I think I'd want the points in a game that I think is going to be an absolute rock fight. 3.5 looks pretty inviting. So, man,
it does. That's the safer play.
Yeah, I just don't want to bet it because I don't want to put any trust in the
Tommy
Giants.
DeVito taking sacks at the rate that he's taking.
No kidding.
That's also a problem.
So under.
All right, let's go to
under big time.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I just want to hammer the under.
So I feel you, brother. Let's get to the Cleveland Browns here at the Denver Broncos. Broncos have played inspired last few weeks, but that Cleveland defense continues to just drag this team into relevance, and they're in the playoff picture right now at 7-3. So, Pat, this one is -2.5. Denver is favored at home, understandably so, as questions about this Cleveland offense moving forward and who's playing quarterback this week. We'll find out. 36.5 is the consensus line, +110 on the Cleveland Browns to win this game. Cleveland continues to find ways to win games. Pat, is this the next one on their list?
I don't know, Joe. I have no interest in betting either side on this one, but we are sliding into home plate here with the 4th and final under bets of the totals under 40. I think I might parlay all these, Joe.
I mean, especially if you get one of those like bonus bets there, like a $10 bonus bet, you just throw that bad boy on there,
4-leg parlay on those low unders because those games are going to be hideous, and I don't think we're going to see much. Who breaks this? Which one of those games is the high scoring affair that ruins the 4-leg parlay? I don't think it's going to be Browns Broncos. I mean, Dorian Thompson-Robinson averaged 3.8 yards on his 43 pass attempts yesterday. Like, the Broncos defense has been better and the Browns defense is great. Like, I don't think the Broncos are going to move the ball on the Browns. This game's going to be hideous. And it's going to be close. I don't want to bet either side.
Sam, any early value on this one for you?
I mean, I think this is a similar situation to the game we had talked about previously of the Giants and Patriots. We got a low total, a team getting a couple of points here. I think teasing both the Browns and the Giants out 6 points is a phenomenal bet, in my opinion. Again, you're getting so many points in these low total games that there's a pretty good chance of both of those covering. So I think that's the way I want to play this. I don't think the Browns' offense is in as dire streets as it's made out to seem. They signed Joe Flacco to their practice squad, which we'll see if he's able to do something or plays this week. I think if he does, then I'd probably take the Browns on the money line. But this is, again, I think a perfect teaser opportunity.
All right, we'll see what opportunities you want in the Arizona Cardinals-Rams game. This one's in Arizona. They are 1-point underdogs at home. 44.5 is the number. You can get -110 on the Rams right now, -108 on the money line of the Cardinals. Sam, with Cooper Kupp likely out for this one, it feels like maybe there's an opportunity to take advantage of the situation where the Rams are coming off a victory, and they're not a great football team. Let's not make any bones about that, nor are the Cardinals. So this is a pick 'em. Do you have a pick that you want to take right now?
I don't really. I mean, Matthew Stafford got a little banged up in this game as well. He did play through that injury. I don't know, like in these sort of situations, like it's a pretty high total. I'm probably going to take the team in the Arizona Cardinals that have a little bit more variance. I think I don't see the Rams as I think 2.5 points better than the Cardinals, which is sort of what you make it if you use 1.5 points for home field advantage. again, the Cooper Kupp potentially missing could be huge. Obviously, they played pretty well earlier this year without him, but Arizona is, I think, on offense playing pretty decently. Again, Kyler getting more into the groove here could help them. I don't remember how all of these NFC West matchups work with one coach having the edge over other coaches, but obviously Cliff Kingsbury's not in town anymore, so that may not matter. But I like the Cardinals on the money line here at home.
All right. Your thoughts on this one, Pat? The Arizona Cardinals hosting the Rams.
Jonathan Gannon's team has been overachieving for most of the season, and this is a pretty plucky team with Kyler Murray at quarterback. I don't think the Rams should be road favorites against any team except maybe for the absolute dregs of the league, the Giants, the Panthers. I think the Cardinals are above that. And so, yeah, I like the Cardinals here. Money line on the Cardinals looks pretty good to me. And this total was at 46.5 on Sunday night, and it's dropped 2 points. I think I actually like the over at this bigger number. Maybe the drop was caused by confirmation that Cooper Kupp is probably not going to play, but I think we knew that already. And, maybe some doubt about Matthew Stafford's well-being, but I think we're going to see some points in this game. So I kind of like the over here.
Yeah, I think the over is actually the way I would approach this one too. But I'm kind of leaning where you guys are, which is, maybe the Cardinals feel like a little bit of a, believe it or not, a safer play here at home. Next one is interesting. I kind of want to see how the Eagles play tonight in Monday Night Football before I approach this one personally. I am in on the Eagles. I've talked about them being on the money line this week. I think they just need this game more than Kansas City does to prove something. They are 8-1. They are 3.5-point favorites. They're at home against the Buffalo Bills. New offensive coordinator. Obviously, they looked pretty good against the Jets. But again, they get a lot of opportunities, Pat, because the Jets continue to struggle to move the football, which means they give it to you and say, here, you take it. I don't want it. 47.5 is the number. Pretty high. If you like the Bills for the upset, plus 150, that's certainly in play. So any early leans when it comes to this one, because this is certainly a match between two of the better teams in the NFL. Do you think there's any value to be had on the betting side, Pat?
Yeah, not just an early lean, Joe. I've already bet the Bills on this game, taking 3.5. And maybe I should have waited. Maybe this goes up if the Eagles really lay it to the Chiefs tonight. But then again, it could go the other way if things go sideways. Yeah, I mean, Joe, like you, I am betting the Eagles on the money line against the Chiefs. And that's kind of part of this. Maybe this game against the Bills is a letdown spot for the Eagles after their big Monday night game against the Chiefs. Hugely important game. Meanwhile, the Bills are fighting for their playoff lives and are about to begin a murderous stretch of schedule. Eagles, bye week, then the Chiefs, then the Cowboys. I think the Bills are going to be laser focused for this one, and I was really encouraged by what they showed us in a must-win game against the Jets. They've had some trouble with the Jets in recent meetings, and they just completely destroyed the New York Jets in Week 11. So I like how sharp the Bills' offense looked like with Joe Brady calling the plays. So give me the Bills and the points in Philadelphia.
Sam, your thoughts on Bills-Eagles?
I've gone back and forth about 4 times in the time that Pat was talking. He made some really good points. I mean, it's incredible what firing an offensive coordinator can do to make the best offense in the league the best offense in the league. It's pretty incredible there, but it's one of those things where I think Josh Allen is the slightly better quarterback, so getting 3.5 points with him, and that's not to downplay how well Jalen Hurts has played this year. But the only thing I think for me not taking Philadelphia right now is their game on Monday night. What happens if there is an injury, because then it's all the Bills. And I think the Eagles defense, especially through the air, has been pretty suspect of late. They are 32nd in passing success rate over the last 4 weeks. And if the Bills do come out throwing, then they're going to, I think, continue to have a ton of success. So I'm not talking myself into it. Let's go Bills plus 3.5.
All right, there you go. Kansas City Chiefs are going to go to Las Vegas for this week, and they are 9.5-point favorites on the road. 44 is the number. Las Vegas on the upset for the money line is plus 350. Now, Sam, when it comes to this, obviously the Raiders have played much better football since getting rid of their coach. The problem is, can a rookie quarterback keep pace with Patrick Mahomes? That's the big question. It's one thing to keep pace with Zach Wilson, Tommy DeVito. I know, this one that we just had against Miami didn't exactly go quite in terms of the blowout people were anticipating. So do you take anything out of that? Is the Raiders the right play here at home to cover this 9.5? Or do you think the Kansas City Chiefs just kind of introduce them to what it really looks like to be the class of the AFC?
This is another really tough one because my head says take the Raiders. My heart says take the Chiefs. And I say the Raiders because Antonio Pierce has that team running the ball a ton, especially with Aiden O'Connell. And I do think that the way to attack Kansas City's defense is on the ground. They have a 45.8% success rate allowed on the ground over the last 4 weeks, which is 30th overall. I do think that if, again, the Raiders are able to slow this game down and keep it under that 44.5-point total, that they'll have a good chance to cover this. Max Crosby is playing out of his mind. I mean, he is playing incredibly this season and is a one-man wrecking crew on that defense. So I slightly lean towards the Raiders, and it feels super gross to fade Patrick Mahomes in that situation, but especially for the Raiders at home with the Chiefs coming off of a Monday Night Football game, I think the Raiders could keep it closer than people expect.
Yeah, see, I'm kind of where you are, Sam. That's my early lean right now on this one. I actually would like to, if Kansas City does take care of the Eagles, perhaps this one goes to double digits. And then maybe we're talking if it's 11 or 12, maybe then you really want to jump in on the Raiders and maybe wait this one out. I'm of that mind. I want to wait and see first. Pat, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so this was right before I got on the show, Joe, it was 10 on DraftKings. So Chiefs favored by 10. Mm-hmm. Look, and the Raiders are 2-1 straight up and 3-0 against the spread since Antonio Pierce took over as head coach. I cannot take the Raiders in this game when the quarterback matchup is Patrick Mahomes against Adlai Stevenson High School graduate Aiden O'Connell. But at the same time, I do not want to bet the Chiefs in a potential letdown spot coming off that big game against the Eagles on a short week of rest against a team that's playing its best football of the season. So I'm staying away from this game.
All right. Before we get on to the night games, I somehow, for the first time ever, missed a game here on this show. So let's circle back real quick. It's not the most exciting game, but it is a game. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Indianapolis Colts, minus 1.5 here on the Colts side at home. 42.5 is the number, plus 110 on the money line for the Bucs. Pat, that's where I want to go. I want to go right to the Bucs. They've been competitive. They had a lot of shots against the 49ers, and they just kept falling short, unfortunately. But the 49ers defense played very well, so I want to give them some credit, too. I like the Bucs here in this game on the road, plus 110. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, Joe, on Sunday night, I always try to guess what the lines and totals are going to be for these games before I actually look at what they are. And I guessed correctly for Bucs Colts. I guess that means there's no value whatsoever. I don't want to bet either side on this one. The total looks spot on also. So I'm walking away.
Sam, any early value on this one?
Oh yeah, give me the Colts. The only reason I pointed out that you skipped this one is because it's one of my favorite of the week. I just think there's such a massive coaching advantage for Shane Steichen and the Colts over Todd Bowles and the Bucs. Like, especially coming off of the bye, Jonathan Taylor is starting to get into a groove. They're giving him a bigger workload. I love the Colts in this spot. I think, again, taking some alternate spreads with them as well, because you're leaning a bit into some variance with Gardner Minshew, who has been a little bit all over the place. But I like the over in this game as well. The Colts have played exceptionally fast. They are leaving 10, 12 seconds on the play clock for every play. Teams that are facing the Colts too are playing super up-tempo as well. So I think both of these offenses are good enough to continue to move the ball as long as there aren't some deep red zone turnovers by either team. Then this total is going to go well above the 42.5 points.
Sunday Night Football, the Los Angeles Chargers will be home against the Ravens, and I hope the Ravens take out my frustrations on the Chargers for me. I'm choosing a champion, Game of Thrones style, and my champion is Lamar Jackson. Brandon Staley was not happy after this press conference, nor should he be. You can tell things are getting a little tight, a little frustrating there, and I'm going to take advantage of it. Look, the Baltimore Ravens are only 4-point favorites here in this game. I think it should be more. I just do. 46.5 is the number, plus 165 on the money line for the Los Angeles Chargers. Sam, I want the Baltimore Ravens in this game. I want to lock this one in now because I think more time people have to think about this one, the more they're going to realize that that's a value here on Baltimore. But what are your thoughts?
I agree. Losing Mark Andrews in the Thursday night game last season really sucks, but they are going to come off some extended time having played on Thursday night. So I think it gives them some time to regroup, to get Isaiah Likely and the other tight ends a little bit more chemistry as well. And this Chargers defense is just so bad. I mean, they allowed Jordan Love to have his first 300-yard passing game, and it just doesn't look better in any week. I mean, the Ravens have a coaching advantage here too. Brandon Staley has not sort of been the plus EV guy that we have seen in the past, and the Ravens defense is still incredible, I think. So give me the Ravens with the points here.
Pat, your thoughts, Ravens or Chargers?
Let's make it unanimous. I do like the Ravens too, and some of the rating systems have the Ravens as about 8 points better on a neutral field, and let's face it, Chargers home games basically are a neutral field. So I think there's value on the Ravens here.
All right, next one's not on a neutral field at all. This one's in Minnesota, the last one, Monday Night Football. So Josh Dobbs, unfortunately, came up a little bit short this past Sunday night. So Monday, maybe a redemption story. They are 3.5-point favorites against the Bears. That feels about right. 45 is the number. That feels about right. Plus 150 for the Bears in the upset. Now, the Bears had that game right there towards the end with the Detroit Lions. They let it slip through their fingers. So do you think that the Bears, having to go on the road 2 weeks in a row, this time to Minnesota, another tough in-division contest, do you think they fall short again, Pat?
Yeah, I sort of like the Bears here, Joe. I don't know if their win probability ever crested 90% in that game against the Lions. I'm guessing it probably did at one point because the Lions found out just how dangerous this Bears team can be. And the Bears are defensive overachievers. They have turned into one of the best run defenses in the league, which is somewhat unexpected. And I don't think they're terrible in the back end either. They lack a little bit of a pass rush, although Montez Sweat has helped in that regard. And now with Justin Fields back, they are explosive on offense too. Not a great running game, but Fields can run, and he can make it happen. We saw it on that play where he threw the long touchdown pass to DJ Moore, where he, pass rush was coming. He eluded it and bought himself some time, and DJ Moore got open deep. So I like the Bears in the points here against the Vikings, who, might still be stinging a little bit from one that got away from them against the Broncos.
Sam, I think that 45 is very much in play on the over side of this game, too, because of the playmaking ability of Fields. And, we've seen Dobbs do some pretty good work here early on. And the only more time he has in this offense, the better it is. Ty Chandler getting his work, too, as well in that backfield. So it's not just a Madison backfield. But what are your thoughts on the Bears and Vikings on Monday night?
Yeah, I think, obviously, the loss for Minnesota could make it so that Justin Jefferson returns in this game as well. Had they won, I think they might have just waited another week going into the bye to just let him rest even more. So if they get him back, I think Joshua Dobbs will be able to take this one to home. I mean, the Bears are just not, this sounds weird, but they're not a winning team. Matt Eberflus is just not coaching a great team, and their playmakers, I think, are sort of making up for his play calling deficiencies on the field. So 3.5 points, though, I think is a little bit too much. That's exactly what I made it prior to looking at the line. So the over could be in play, but I would love if Justin Jefferson was in before making that play.
See, I want to get it now, just in case he's in. Lock it in because I feel good about it now. Jefferson would make me feel even better. And also what makes you feel good is not just betting on football, but also betting on basketball. And if you haven't seen it already, check out Fast Break Bets, the ultimate source for NBA betting insights. You can join Matt and Modi every single Wednesday, every single Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern, exclusively right here on our Betting Pros channel to get ready with the hottest picks and the juiciest odds for the day's NBA matchups. So make sure you subscribe to the Betting Pros channel and check him out every single Wednesday and Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern, right here on Betting Pros. And don't forget, our NFL contest is still going. bettingpros.com/NFL contest, or just join on the community tab, the NFL contest. We're giving away weekly prizes, monthly prizes, a JSN autographed jersey, so many prizes for all of you. And of course, we've got a lot of football still to come here, and we're going to have you covered all week long, all season long. So make sure you subscribe and click that bell till it goes ding for notifications for our Betting Pros channel. That'll do it for us, but the story of the game goes on. For Sam and Pat, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids.